Welcome, dotnet friends. For folks that have joined us before, thanks again for joining. For folks who are just tuning in for the first time, we here on the On.net live show are here to empower you, hopefully, the .net community members, to achieve more. I'm your host, Scott Addy, and I'm joined by familiar co-hosts David Pine and Cam Soper.
Hello, hello.
I feel like I should have an air horn or something at that point. We are very excited for today's show. We are joined by MVP and guest Joost van Schaik. Joost, would you like to introduce yourself to the audience?
Yes, well, like you correctly said, I'm Joost van Schaik. I'm from the Netherlands. I'm 56, 55. I need to think these days. I'm indeed a Microsoft MVP, a Windows development and mixed reality. In the IT since 33 years, worked a lot in GIS, fell in love with .net in 2000 and with the 3D world in about 2017, 16, 15. It was in November on an MVP summit. So, and since then I've been working as a professional mixed reality developer and blogger. So that's my stick. So this is something I don't do very often.
Wow. I just wanted to make sure I heard you correctly. Did you say 32 years of developer experience?
Yeah, I think I even almost 32, going on 33.
32. So I'm certain that we have live viewers that haven't even been alive that long. Like, that's insane.
I was just going to say, Cam, 32.
Sorry?
Is Cam, aren't you 32?
Yeah, Cam's 32. Yeah.
So you might not believe this, but I was just thinking about it. Yeah, I've got like 30. I mean, if you count like the work that I did in like high school, I've got like 32 years of experience too, but I'm a few years younger than him.
Yeah, but I started developing before that. I only counting the times before people actually got a salary for it.
Well, I didn't make a salary. I did get paid though. So I bet it was like, fix my bug and I'll pay you,
wow,
some money.
Yeah, I did some stuff on the Commodore 64 before that. I'm sorry, guys. I go back a long way, and I always managed to be an active coder on the brink of technical stuff. They tried to make me manager a few times. I always managed to dodge that bullet.
Love it.
Not my thing.
Love it.
Awesome. So for today's show, very exciting topic, something that will inevitably make me feel dumb and unaccomplished. We're going to talk about building 3D apps for headsets like HoloLens, MetaQuest, the list goes on and on. Why don't we jump right into it?
Okay. So, .NET in 3D, what do we use? Here we go. This is Unity, and Unity is a game engine. So this is really funny. I don't like games. I don't hardly play games, and I don't even make games. I made one game once in 1986 for the Commodore 64, and I didn't like it. So I never did it again. You will see me look up sometimes because I have two monitors on top of each other. Occasionally I play games, but like I said, now this is something funny. We built stuff. I'm actually grow up in GIS, and I'm more like an enterprise developer. So what does an enterprise developer do in a game engine? Building enterprise apps in 3D. This poses some unique challenges because Unity is made for game development, and game developers and have different needs than enterprise developers. So where, for instance, Microsoft goes out of its way to make stable environments, Unity believes in move fast and break things, and boy, do they break things. So that makes things interesting to do. Also, and that's not to belittle game engines, but I have like a formal training. I've writing unit tests, the whole stuff, making stuff reliable and testable and whatever. Game developers are incentivized to make beautiful, flashy stuff. So Unity is also incentivized to do that. And also, I think you have heard the word of spaghetti code. You can do that in .NET although it gets harder and harder. In Unity, you can do spaghetti code on a way that's so horrible that I won't even describe it, but you as normal .NET developers cannot even imagine it, how hard it is if I can do scripts, if they call it, this is C# code, and that they move from here to, so they also move physically through your graphics and your scene. It's the most horrible. You can make the most horrible spaghetti here, like spaghetti in 3D. So it also has great advantages because I don't know if you ever remembered. Are you old enough to remember the old Java promise? Run once, and break once anywhere. Yeah, they never made that happen.
Thank you for saying that out loud.
Yeah, the funny thing is Unity did without fanfare, because games need to run on everything. So if I make an app for the HoloLens, I can quite easily port it over to, where is it? The Magic Leap 2.
And these are different devices that let you kind of view your running application in these 3D environments, right?
Yes. These are all. Well, let me go into details later. If I become too boring or too technical, just hit the brakes.
No worries.
Okay, I guess everybody knows about this one. This is the Meta Quest 3. Arguably at this point the most affordable mixed reality device. I will get back to that terminology even further. What do I have more to show? Oh, this is a fun one. This is how it all started. Good old HoloLens 1. It's now basically a expensive press papier. And this is a real outlier. I don't know if you've ever seen this. This is I cannot turn it on, but this is the Snap Spectacles. But unfortunately, they have chosen to take another development environment. So although it's an awesome device, it's actually not part of this presentation because it doesn't run Unity, but it runs something very similar. To make things even crazier, as I will show later, this can also be a mixed reality device.
Really interesting.
Yep. Or your iPhone, but I have no Apple Gear and it's too expensive just to buy Apple Gear for fun, so I didn't do that. Now, mixed reality. I mean, you know what VR is? I mean, you see a complete different environment your way, and you also have seen the really funny movies that somebody is fighting an imaginary adversary and is knocking down lamps, the television, and probably his spouse. Not so in mixed reality. Microsoft kicked open the market with the good old HoloLens 1. I think in 2015, yes. I was on the MVP summit, and they said, if you keep your mouth shut, you can all play half an hour with HoloLens. It was not even released for well over half a year before that. And it was really insane. I fell in love there and then we had to leave the building. Just when we were done, we had to leave the building because the cafeteria caught fire. That was really funny. I still had, just yesterday, I got the movie again from, oh, right. Remember when all the big fire trucks came, everybody had to run out of the movie. It's crazy stuff. Mixed reality. What important is with mixed reality is the interaction between reality and virtual things. So I can, if I put on this device, I can still see you all. Yes. If I put on the Meta Quest, I'm essentially blind. If it's off. Not so HoloLens. Not so a Magic Leap. Not so. Important thing is not, it's not like a Google Glass. I mean, things need to interact with reality. So if I see a box hanging before me and I smash it, I expect it to move. And it usually does. Also important mixed reality, if I drop a ball on a real floor, it bounces. So if I drop a virtual ball, it should also bounce. We call that the spatial map. The device should know where the reality is. Microsoft championed that first in the HoloLens 1. Also important, of course, if you have a ball and it runs under a bench, then logically it disappears from sight. It's all kinds of things that seem very obvious, unless it isn't, if you think about it. So interaction with reality. It should detect it hits something or disappears behind something. Personally, I think there are more things, but those are the unmissable parts. And you also have things like if you gaze at something, it should react. If you poke a virtual button in the air, it should react. There is discussion about if you should use a controller or not. Microsoft came out without mid controllers. Meta came with controllers. I think we all can say that hand tracking is now the thing, because all the devices that support controllers also support hand tracking. And even Apple was like, yeah, right, no controllers for you. So I call me vindicated.
So this spatial map, and like, I just wanted to kind of dive in a little bit more because I'm trying to wrap my head around it.
Okay, sorry if I go too fast. For me, this is all.
No, yeah, it's certain things that we probably would take for granted, but like, I just want to make sure I understand the tech. So are you saying like the spatial map is like a programming interface that's available through all the different devices, or like when we're developing for these 3D applications, like how do we like set bounds? How do we, create some of these interactions? Like, how is that actually achieved?
Funny that you say that. So I have to find where it exactly is. So if I'm in Unity, I can find you just say add a component, and it's called a RA Mesh Manager. This is, hello, my script. You just drag that on it, and then you say, how do you want the spatial map to appear? Transparent? Do you want to have occlusion? Do you want to have it visible? I mean, if you ever saw the HoloLens movies, I should have recorded that you can actually see if you have a HoloLens, you do an air tap. An air tap is very weird. You put your hand, you get a ray from it, you do this, and this is like a remote mouse click. If you do that, then you see like there's this mesh is formed around you're on the floor, on the wall. And this is like a 3D object with what we call a collider. A collider is something that recognizes that something else is hitting. And the funny thing is, you haven't programmed anything. You just set up the project, you add the AR Mesh Manager. Hey, presto, the device knows. And how the device does, I don't care. Unity takes care of that. So the HoloLens and the Magic Leap are almost the same. While we were talking about it, there is some smartness in it. You also have an AR Plane Manager, which is a little bit more intelligent, that actually recognizes this is a floor, this is, well, I have a bed here next, this is the spare guy's bedroom. It will recognize it as a table. Well, almost correct, but at least in horizontal. It assumes any big vertical area. Sorry, I'm looking at the floor. Doesn't make sense. Excuse me. Any vertical, a big area below you is the floor. Smaller areas are tables or chairs or whatever. Vertical are of course walls, and anything above you is apparently the ceiling. And so it has some intelligence. This is where you run into problems also, because these devices have subtle differences. For instance, the HoloLens and the Magic Leap and also the Apple Vision Pro I've seen, they scan the environment completely. And I mean continuously. So it has some funny effects. If you have stuff lying on the floor and the scanning is not so good, you actually see it wobbling. Meta does this different. You scan the room ahead, and then it stays the same, which is nice, because if something changes, then you don't get these wobbly effects. The problem is if you move a chair, it won't recognize it after you move it. So that's a trade-off. One thing I forgot to say about what's important with these days headset is a nice technical term. It's called inside-out tracking. I think it was invented by Microsoft. That means if you put on a HoloLens, it knows where you are. If you look around, it sees the difference. And there is no need for external devices. I don't know if you people remember the older style devices. First of all, they were tethered to a PC with a giant thick cable. And second, you had to put off all these lighthouses, as they call, like transmitters. You had to calibrate it. It was all very fiddly. the new style devices. Just you have to put on. You have to look around a bit, and they understand where you are. And with the advent of computer vision, this becomes more and more and more. So yeah. Well, what I said, artificial, like I said, you show real stuff virtual stuff in reality. And I always say, if people will say, what is your job in one sentence? And I always say, I give you artificial hallucinations. So.
Oh, I love that. So Joost, we do have a question here from Jose on YouTube. They're asking specifically, can we embed Unity animations inside WPF applications?
I am not sure. I'm afraid I don't think so, because Unity makes an application. If I were to build this for HoloLens, then it actually creates a UWP application, but it's in C++. So I'm not aware of a way of doing that. Would be interesting to try, but
okay.
So, yeah. So how? Well, basically, this I can shortly. Do you think it's interesting if I just shortly tell what this all is?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. So basically, this is the hierarchy. This is my scene, as they call it, and this is like. Yeah, if you ever worked with Visual Basic or the more modern things, this is how you assemble your UI. It's like, or maybe like XAML, the old Blend did also something like that. In there are game objects, and game objects have usually some graphic part. But they can also have like what we call scripts. Basically, scripts, fortunately, are just C#. And now we're hopefully back on more familiar territory. I will try to find a simpler one. Okay, so this is a very simple script. If something wants to appear, I want to have it appear in the middle of the screen. So the simple thing, if you want to go to there, you simply double click on it. Up comes Visual Studio. And here is a very simple thing. We see the most interesting detail. Is this readable, do you think?
Why don't we bump the font size up a little bit? I would recommend 120%.
Yeah, is this better?
A little more?
Yep. Okay.
That's better.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I had put the font size up, but of the whole computer, but not of the. Right. So this is really funny, because this makes that I can actually drag stuff on top of this. So objects to activate is a list, and these game objects need to be inactive first, and then they need to be activated in 2 seconds. So this is simply C#. The crazy thing is that there are some, these are not public, but they can be private and still be called. Just like this is private, but you can still access it, or at least Unity can access it. Unity does some very tricky things to get into stuff. And you also see like, I also use something like that's called UniRX. That's a reactive library for Unity. And you can see that it just says an object, if you set active is true, it's just C#. You can also see like just time span and stuff, only because Unity needs to make part of it their own implementation. They have to, they're running behind a bit. We're now stuck for the moment as C#9. But you can also just, apart from that, I'm not really sure. You see, if you want to have like use external stuff, there is a NuGet for Unity. We can just pull down NuGet packages, but yeah, some things are not available, and you get Unity also has their own repository of stuff that you can use to download game packs or things that make it easier to use certain things like hand tracking. But there are all kinds of ways to grab packages together. So
I was a little nervous at first. I was looking at your screen here, and where it says Unity 6 up in the top left-hand corner,
yeah.
just to the right of that, it says JS. I understand now that's your initial.
Yeah. Oh, yes. No, don't worry. No, don't worry. That's just.
I was like, not JavaScript. No.
Sorry to. Okay. So I was telling, this is the hierarchy. This is the scene. This is where you basically assemble the stuff. If I were to run the application, it would appear here. This is basically my library of stuff I have local. And here you see already what this is the inspector. Well, if you used any kind of WYSIWYG editor, this is how it works. I can here choose all kinds of properties. This one I wrote myself. If something appears, I want to have it to appear in the middle of the screen, always. So then you...
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, you have also these things, camera.main. Here we go. This is something you need to wrap your head on. It works with transformations. They have a position. That's like 3 things in space. I mean, X, Y, Z. I think you can wrap your hand around it.
Yeah.
And yeah, every transform also has a forward in what direction I'm looking. So if I want to move before the camera, I go like a meter before. When you get into rotations, you get something like a quaternion. I don't even know how to pronounce it properly. A quaternion. You write it with a Q, and it's a 4-number piece that actually describes the rotation in space. This is one of the more complex things, and I won't bother you with that right now.
Sure.
But you can see it's just C#. This is a library that helps you to look where you can look. This is fun to see. If I want to see how far something is away, I can do a box cast. It's sometimes really graphic. Suppose I have a box and I throw it like a meter away. Does it hit something? And if so, what? That's useful if you want to put something on the spatial map or want to see whatever it's hitting.
So that's not exactly like a physics engine per se, because an engine would imply like during runtime. This is more or less in code a physics like helper method.
Yeah,
that helps you kind of reason about things. Okay.
Yeah, but you can also just add a ball. You add a collider to it, and they call it a physical collider, physical component. You drop it, and you don't have to code anything. You can mess with the gravity, and you can mess with how bouncy everything is, and it just bounces off. This
awesome.
can also make you insane.
We do have another question here, Joost. Let me put it up on screen real quick here. And this is from DK1080 on YouTube. They're asking, is there a distinction between augmented reality and mixed reality, or can they be used interchangeably?
Yeah, well, the problem is that we have technicians on the one side and we have marketing people at the other side. Technically, they're a little bit different. Augmented reality shows you, for instance, if you look at something like my favorite fictional yet augmented reality app is I look at, for instance, Scott, and I can remember his name for about 5 minutes because that's my thing. And the next time I meet Scott, my glasses say, "Hey, this is Scott Eddy," and his wife is called whatever, and he has this kids. Oh my God, thank you. Then I can at least pretend to being socially and not completely inept. That's instant. It adds something to reality, but it doesn't interact with reality. At least that's in my book. Mixed reality actually interacts with reality. Having said that, Microsoft sold at one point virtual reality headsets that they called mixed reality headsets, and Apple now calls it spatial computing to make things more confusing.
Like you said, marketing, right? That's just
Yeah, that's the problem. If marketing people start to muddle up technical things, I mean, basically everything now is AI, even if it's just a nice algorithm or a piece of machine learning. That makes talking to people sometimes very difficult. Maybe I'm too technical, but I try to I'm a developer. I make things. I describe stuff as good as I can, and if I call something A, I want it to be A and not A B. So I would like to show some things from my headset, but then the problem is if I do so, then I will probably spend 5 minutes fiddling with getting the devices to work and actually show something on my screen. I have made a few movies. I'm not really sure if it's time to. We talked about this. Are you going to play it? Can I play it myself?
David, you're muted.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think you didn't upload any to us, or I don't think we have any loaded here.
Okay,
we could, if you want, we could try doing it from.
I shared something over OneDrive. Well,
that's right. All right. Well, how about let's start doing the actual demo. I know it's going to take a bit to set up, but that'll give us time to grab that and upload it.
Not really. I can also try to run it myself, and you say how it looks.
Okay. Did you share audio when you shared your screen? Do you know?
Well, actually, Joost, on your present button down on the bottom, that you use to share your screen, do you have the ability to share a video file down there?
No, but I don't think so. I don't.
Okay, I do.
I see present. I'm not really sure if I should click that right now.
Yeah, go ahead and click it. See if there's a video file option there.
It says video file.
Yeah. Let's try that.
And then select the file. Yeah.
Okay, then I have to check where it is because it opens on the wrong place. Let's see.
And we are live, folks. This is
yeah. It's all like I said. I'm an extremely professional. Okay, so now what I do? Now?
I do it.
Yep.
Okay, so can we also? I can also pause it. Okay, so here you see me. I'm going. So that I can put this on my screens, but yeah, okay. As I said, I'm very proficient at doing live shows. So here you see me. It actually finds the floor. Do you hear the sound as well? I don't hope.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's not really the intention, but it doesn't. And here you can then see this is actually shot on a Quest. Oh, I can change airports. So I first always take Amsterdam because that's a nice thing to try. There's a whole list of stuff you can see. And of course, since I guess you're all from the United States, I will take LAX. And the fun thing, that's eye gaze, if you look at it. Where does it come up? There we go. This is a spirit.
So cool.
Yeah. This is an actual, of course, in flight, but it's an actual picture of the flight. It also has a kind of God mode if you want to see what's in here anymore. But so this is the Quest. And you can see this is see-through VR. So it looks like mixed reality already. Now, if you wait long enough, they will actually start moving. You get these nice patterns of how they move in and out. There's another airport. This actually allows you to see how these planes move. And my original ID, this is on the HoloLens. And it also runs on the Magic Leap.
And also there's a bed underneath it in case.
Yeah, that's correct. And this is the same app now running on my phone. Thank you.
David, that's airport code BED to the left.
I'm sorry, what did you...
Carry on. It was a terrible joke.
Okay. And instead of a hand menu, I use a long press. So you have to... And of course, here you see a difference. Occlusion doesn't work. So the button is gone. Well, that's it. Can you turn that off again? Or do I have to turn it?
Yeah, we'll take it off here for you. That's awesome. That's really cool. So is this this app that you just showed there?
Sorry.
Okay. This app
I'll kill that.
Go there
until you're ready to share again.
Yeah, let me see. I'm a bit.
So how did you do the mapping, like of not necessarily like this, like the actual map and like the movement of the airplanes? Like I'm curious, like how you map those in the spatial relationship to the room. Like there's got to be a lot of interesting math going on there.
Oh God, beware what you ask.
It's spaghetti, right? No.
Okay, so the thing is, every mixed reality app Word is sold also has a big back end. and this one has a big backend. So the maps you see is, that's not so special. That's just Bing Maps. I wrote an implementation for that for Unity. It shows Bing Maps or Google Maps if you like. That's that. Now things get interesting. A HoloLens or a mixed reality device and now please don't kill me, has what we GIS people call a Cartesian coordinate system. That's very complicated for if you go 1 meter to the left or 1 meter to the right or 1 meter at the height, you move the same distance. Now this might seem very logical to you until you look at a map of the world. You know the typical map of the world where Greenland is the gigantic, the South Pole is like this big band on the out, and the United States is about as big as half as Africa, which is totally not true. Africa is ginormous. It also looks like Russia is ginormous. It is, but not half as ginormous as it likes. This is what we call the Mercator projection. And you can blame a fellow countryman of mine, Mr. Mercator, although he lived in what is now technically Belgium, so we are happy to shove the guilt to him. What we use now, the problem is we want to see something flat in what's essentially globe, so that doesn't work. So what we do, there is a transformation from what we call lat long, that has a name. I will not bother you with that. But so I will have to do some calculation and quite some, and that happens in the cloud, because if you want to do that in the HoloLens, you're burning battery like tomorrow. So that basically tries to convert all these lat long coordinates, so basically degrees depicting where you are on the Earth, it's a globe, and to something that more or less reasonably approaches a flat plane. Well, in the Netherlands, you get away with it because we are as flat as a plane. There are some airports that, I can show, but they're not realistic because they seem to be in a flat area, but they're not. And they sometimes are not even horizontal. If you've ever been to I think Biggin Hill in the UK, that's like that has like 3 bumps in it. It must be really funny to take off or land from there. Sorry. So there's a lot of math included. Once the data is basically in the HoloLens or the Magic Leap or whatever, there's not much calculation. It's basically I rotate relatively. I have a world object. Maybe you just saw it. Where is it? Hologram collection. I have a world. And this is the thing I place on the ground. And within that, everything rotates with. So if I rotate the world, then everything within rotates it. So Unity basically does that calculation for me. If a plane flies and I over a piece of map and I rotate the whole world, the map rotates and the rest as well. So that's easy, relatively.
That's awesome. So if I understand this correctly, the HoloLens is really just managing like the 3D spatial environment. You're overlaying the map, and then you're doing HTTP calls most likely to some sort of endpoint that is kind of giving you like an updated representation of where those planes are, like where to splat them on the map, so to speak.
Yeah, I can actually see in Azure there's a large JSON. I cache them because I use as a backend a public service called ADSB Exchange. I pay for that, or actually, I pay them by tracking airplanes myself, so they can feed that to their thing. So, but if I would do that every time everybody starts up a HoloLens, then they would get sick of me pretty soon. So, but I cache that in Azure. So what happens is you ask for instance, the planes for Lex, and it checks if anybody within 25 seconds has already asked that. If so, you just get that whole thing loaded to you. And that's not for me being cheap or being friendly, but ADSB Exchange also doesn't update much more than 20 each every 20 seconds. So it doesn't make any sense to pull the same data ever again.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, the pictures are taken from another service. I don't even remember which one. So it's like pulling data everywhere. There's also a fun thing that if you you can actually touch an airplane. I didn't show that. I can show you that right away, by the way. You know, it's also fun. In Unity, you can also just simulate stuff. And I can also see how. So if I just press run, let's hope I don't mess out all the layout.
And while you're doing that, I wanted to ask a question really quick about the 3D plane assets themselves. Are they like matching the type of airplane that's specified on those, or is it just like a generic airplane?
Very good looking. I have like, well, you know, let's stop this first. I will look at that further. You have been paying attention, sir. I actually have like 5-6 different aircraft. A Beechcraft, I can just show it, I think. Whoops, that was not what I meant. I just wanted to show.
I see it there in the bottom right.
Yeah, but I wanted to see it here.
Ah, okay.
You see, this is the large picture thing. It makes a little bit of a mess, so let's put that out of the way. See, you can also easily. So if the service tells me what kind of plane it is, not also the type, but also the time. So if I get turboprop, I show this one. If there's a single discard, yes, single player, a simple single airplane, Cessna. I have a glider. I even have a helicopter with a rotating rotor, and yeah, 2 generic jets, Airbus and Boeing. They are a little bit different, not very much. So indeed, I use different aircraft. Well seen. I mean, you paid attention.
I have a follow-up question on that. These aircraft assets that you just showed us, do you purchase those from a marketplace somewhere, or do you
can
create
purchase those from a marketplace, indeed. But these were public models. You can just download them. There are people who make, just like there are people making public software, like me. There are also people who make public domain stuff, showing their portfolio, have fun with it, credit them for me, or you can, send them whatever, not Bitcoin, but you can send them via PayPal or something.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know my 10-year-old actually has shown a recent interest in Unreal Engine. So I installed it and he was trying to toy around with it, and we found a marketplace, and there are free options and there are things you pay for. Yeah, and it's really cool. It's really eye-opening to see even like some of the free stuff. It's amazing. Some of the talent out there, some of these people that make these amazing models that you can just get and use.
Correct.
It's
yeah,
awesome.
Well, if you, there are some fun details in here. Let me show you something. Always, yeah. You didn't see the whole startup sequence, of course. So I'm going to specifically take Amsterdam Schiphol. Okay, you will see a little tower here, and that's the Tower of Schiphol, and that was drawn to me by a friend. And if I wrong. See, now this thing is selected. Do you hear the annoying ping sound?
Yes, almost like a sonar type sound.
Exactly.
Right?
It is also called sonar. The funny thing is, if you do that, and everybody in the world looking at Amsterdam will see this till they get insane from it. And this is the Microsoft building on Schiphol. That was a joke. So that doesn't really make any sense. So the idea behind this was, I originally envisioned it as something I could maybe sell to air traffic controllers, or at least sell the idea. See, they start moving now. Me too, by the way. So the problem is with aircraft controllers, you have to keep create a 3D image in your mind of 2D data, speed, altitude, and course of the device, of all the airplanes. I was like, how easy would it be if you can just see it? And once we're working with it, if we move a little bit further, we can also think about ourselves like, what if we project it a little bit in the future? It can even warn you for collisions before you see that yourself. They weren't really enthusiastic, and some people say it takes very special skills to be an aircraft controller. on ATC, and then in comes this dork with his weird helmet, and it says it will now be easy. Maybe that's what they didn't like. That something was said to me. Yeah, but that's the thing, you know. I mean, I only see, oh, this is so cool, I can make this, but other people think, oh, this is maybe not such a good idea. Well, this is not the only app. Let's not talk about this only. Let me try again another video. This is shorter. I find this very scary.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes? Do you have a question?
There are a few questions. Yeah, let's jump to those while we're transitioning over. So
let's do the questions first then.
Is from Red Eye Developers on YouTube. They're asking, is it a good approach to making applications in a game engine?
That's a good question. The problem is, if you don't, what else will you use for 3D applications? I mean, Microsoft is famous for the not invented here syndrome. And I applaud them for actually taking a standard a standard environment, or at least a much used environment, for taking care of all the 3D stuff. Because if you don't, you have to make all that yourself. I mean, we're missing things like dependency injection and proper testing, but that is actually easier to make than making a whole 3D engine yourself. It involves lots of math and other stuff.
And to build on that, we have had other guests on the stream build applications in 3D before. The one that I'm thinking of is Immersive APM, who they make a platform monitoring, application monitoring front end that is all built. I can't remember, is it Unity or Unreal? I think it's Unity.
I think it's Unity also, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like there's something very big, and that takes already. It also has drawbacks. Like I said, Unity is not very known for his QA. So yeah, and you are dependent on the third party. We basically shuttle around between Microsoft and Unity sometimes. But I think it's so far it's for me it's worth the trouble. Although sometimes I use words better not used in print or video. More questions, or can I
queue up your video?
Okay. There was one more actually. Let me do that real quick here. Jose is asking, do you know if there's already Copilot integration for Unity? You know, everyone's thinking AI, right? So my Unity knowledge is a bit rusty.
Not really, but you can ask pretty good questions about how things work in Copilot. I actually use that often.
Awesome.
Yes, you can, but it is not directly in Unity. Okay, let's try if I can do this correctly. So I have added this video. Can we? Oh, I don't see it myself now.
I'll get it up there. Give me a second.
I'll stop it. Right. So this is an older app based on the same principle. Can I put this? Yeah, I can now put it.
You can play it now.
All right. I'm very happy. So this actually shows 3D data of all over the world, literally all over the world, in your room. There we go. I don't know if there's somebody from Seattle, but that should be pretty recognizable.
Mount Rainier, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, like I said, I've worked in GIS, so everything I do sometimes involves a map. This is Kilimanjaro. Well, I won't.
Wow, that's so cool.
You can also zoom out. It also has voice commands and stuff. There is a sad thing about this application that I will tell in a few minutes. You can also say where you are. There's lots of maps in that. There are lots of places you can actually also ask it. Whoops, I will move this out of the way before I get. That's all there is. Before it actually. What was I about to say? It is when you get older. There's lots of things you have to do. It can also show lots of places. You can also just ask it for a random place, like show me the Himalaya or something. This works more or less on the same vein. It just converts stuff, but there is a a beautiful API that Microsoft makes. That's the Bing Elevation API. And the same tiles you saw under the airports are now used to make a 3D map. And the trick for that is actually very simple. A plane actually exists out of you can see that it's flat, but there's actually a grid of 11 by 11 points, and you can move them up and down individually. So it's like I get a piece of the map that's like a piece of cloth, and I just pull points up and down. It's very easy. The sad thing is, Microsoft, this app is now a few years old. It runs on HoloLens and Magic Leap, and I won't port it to other devices for the very simple reason that Microsoft has decided to pull the API. So this app will die later this year, unfortunately, because July 31st. Yeah, the problem is they have a height map of the whole world. I can understand it. Hosting that is an enormous amount of data because they have it for very. And you can really wonder what now exactly the return on investment is going to be.
I have a question on the demo you were just showing. If you were to pick a certain location on the mountain range, could you see what the elevation is in feet?
No, but that would be easy to make.
I can imagine that being a useful thing for folks that are hiking in that area.
Oh yeah, somebody asked me if I could make a blue hour mode. And I was like, what? Yeah, that's something apparently from photography that if you take a picture in the blue hour, I'm not really sure if that's an hour around sunset or sunrise. I'm not really sure where stuff looks particularly beautiful if the sky is blue. They call that the blue hour. So the sky, I'm not really, I never got around to it. So. Do you mind me to jump to the last video because I really want to show that? I also work in mixed reality, and I was really surprised I actually could show this. I work at a company that supports neurosurgeons in their work. So suppose you have I hope you never had, but suppose you had something on your head and you had your head scanned. Any one of you have ever noticed needed that. Sorry, English is not my first language. Then if you have a tumor, and both of my parents had one, and one actually succumbed to one. They have these MRI machines or see. I'm not a medical person. It's also a big challenge to work with medical people because if you think us ITers have a lot of jargon, then you.
That's very true. Yeah. You muted yourself there, Joost.
Sorry, I hit something apparently. I hope it wasn't for very long.
It wasn't, no. It was 30 minutes. No.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Thank you, Dave. Let's just show it though. The idea, what we have is, I don't know if you ever saw what we call DICOM scans. They are these grainy black and white things that basically they slice your head in very thin places. Not really, of course, but with a kind of radiation. And they do so in 3 directions. So they go from this way to that way, like this. And then I forgot one. I think this way.
But it's 2D, like the images, right?
There are all 2D images, but they are like stacked in 3D. This is for an experienced doctor, this is readable. For a normal people, you see I will show in the video, you'll just see a number of vague stuff. And I'll just show it. And then I'll explain what you actually see. So, present, video file. Yeah, this is all, we're a startup. I was very happy the CEO allowed me to show this because it's only a very small part of it for obvious reasons. Okay, so what do we see here? We see here a brain. I can move this because then I don't look so stupid up. So you see here the skin. You don't see my mouse, of course. You see skin. You see a partially translucent brain. And you see some other things. I'm not even sure what we're actually looking at here. I do know the green part is a bad part. That's a tumor. You don't want that there. The red things are either veins or arteries, and I will probably get lambasted for mixing those up, so I won't even try. And the blue things are ventricles. These are fluid holes in your head that have a role in refreshing your head's, your brain's stuff. So you can turn things on. This is a scan of the skull. It's a bit rough. Oh, I can turn it partially see-through. And you can see that the doctor now can, for instance, turn the brain on and have a good view of how it looks. This is the tumors in the brainstem. Is it not so very clear? You can actually increase it in size. And yes, come on. This is really pushing the HoloLens to its limits. So, and if you then try to record stuff, you're basically eating 25% of its performance doing the recording. So it's now almost at its top performance. So, and this is the source material. You can also show that. I'll press exactly next to the button. Thank you. There we go. See, this is the stuff where it's made from. You can see the outlines of the tumor a little bit, and while we're at it, we can also do the other ones.
That is so cool. That is
yeah,
really
I cannot claim a few things for it, but this moving around of stuff that was really done by a colleague who is really brilliant in math. So what is the problem is, of course, how do you get from these grainy white images to the real 3D stuff? Yeah, there we have a very smart guy from India who basically created some ML, and that's really out of my league. I start when the 3D models come in. It's very smart to actually to recognize these vague 3D, vague 2D flat things and move those into 3D objects. And I haven't shown like 5, 10, or 10% which actually can do this, but I think your viewers would be bored to death watching me dissect the brain for hours on end. So, but this is what I do for work, and it's we're a startup, and we hope to show some awesome things very soon. But I hope
I was going to chime in. We have a question I wanted to get to here. If you don't mind. Our friend Tom is asking, do you use EXIF from images?
I'm not really sure if I understand the question. Those images don't carry EXIF information as far as I know. So no, I don't think so. Also, the machine learning stuff is I understand vaguely in principle how it works, but even if I probably understand it in detail, I probably would like to keep my job and not talk about it. Thank you.
Yep. I'm also curious. So you've shown several demos here in these videos. What do you think is perhaps the coolest application of these 3D apps that you've seen out in the industries? Maybe in like the architecture field or medical field, something like that. What's the coolest thing you've seen?
Well, it's an older one actually. I mean, this is visually beautiful, and the ones that I like the most actually doing was one of the older ones. That was really in the pioneer days of HoloLens 1. I don't think I have a video. There is something on it on the internet if you look for a Jumbo deck marking. Jumbo is a like the little elephant is a offshore shipping company. And their problem was as follows. They had these very large flat top ships. They used to transform even partially built ships, windmills, transformers, oil rigs on top of that. And what they then did was they go in AutoCAD, they draw how they going to put that on the ship. And of course, it doesn't stay on the ship because a ship tends to rock. And if it's a flat top ship, they're all oversized, so you cannot put them in a ship. So they have to design with AutoCAD all kinds of struts and stuff and safety stuff that needs to be put and usually welded to the deck of a ship. Where does it go? I see you thinking. The problem is they had to design this in AutoCAD, and then somebody has to go with a Sharpie and do big printouts on the deck of a ship to here should be welded, here you should that strut, and they did that, of course, often in the tropics. It's really funny to spend 2 days on your knees in the blistering heat on a metal deck to place. To work with the Sharpie. Oh, and then, by the way, in the meantime, a multi-million-dollar vessel and his crew is just waiting for you to finish, so no pressure. And then some brilliant guy came to the brilliant employee, and my colleague, then Alexander Myers, came to the brilliant idea of how we try this with HoloLens. And what you do, you put 2 markers on the floor, and you work slowly. And maybe you saw in my map the tile ID. That were tiles, so they made like a tiled map, and we processed the app in the backend of the AutoCAD drawing in the backend, and it came out as tiles, as images, with everything that needs to be welded in horrible magenta, so you can actually see it properly. And then you turn on the HoloLens, and you marked the deck in about 2 hours. And you could do that, for instance, in the morning when it's not so hot, but really all nice and light. I don't know whatever came from it, because it was like a bespoke project for a company.
So it went from being 2 days to just being 2 hours.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the people doing that were not so. They weren't burned to death. They didn't have to wait too long. It was a proof of concept. I'm not really sure how it went after deployment, because we both moved on in different directions. I was asked to later, I think a year later, to participate in an online meeting around an online presentation about it, to give some technical details. So I'm not really sure if they actually kept on implementing or found some other ways. But I found it an impressive demonstration of what you can do with mixed reality in the industrial setting. But what we're doing now is also very fun. One of our founders is a renowned professor in the neurosurgery, and maybe we should do this again in a few years.
Yeah, definitely. This has been great. I've thoroughly enjoyed this, and I shared my appreciation here with our viewers.
Okay, great.
I've been sharing the links also to our viewers that you provided with us. So
I'm sorry I didn't show as much code as sometimes other people show, but please look at my blog and you will be inundated in code, because my idea is if you know something, share it completely, so that everybody can pull what you made and can see how it works, even if I fail to describe all the nuts and bolts in detail. So that's important.
All right. Well, we're just about at time. It's a good time to wrap up the show. Did you have one last thing you wanted to show, Joost?
No, I think I'm done.
Okay, perfect. Well, again, thank you to all of our viewers for tuning in today. We appreciate you being here and interacting with us in the chat. Thank you for the questions as well. As a reminder, you can check out other .NET live TV streams like the one you watched today out at dot.net/live. And as you saw scrolling earlier on the bottom of the screen, next week we'll return with guest Ryan Nino Dizon, who will join the show, and we'll talk about simplifying Azure API management policies using .NET, of course. And we'll see you all then. Thank you.
Bye.
Wow.